this is how I join the ends. Here's the little tail we left, about 8 inches or so. And then I stopped probably 15 inches, 12 to 15 inches before I get to the end. And what we'll do is, the joining, the first one you put down, we're going to lay it across here, across the top. And I want a little bit more room, so I'm going to trim some of this off. So I'm going to go, I'm about halfway between the two lines of stitching, okay? So now we've got this piece we've trimmed off, and we're going to use this as a way to measure. So let's put it aside here for now. And bring this other piece down. This is where you're coming down stitching this way. And we're going to lay it over like this and slightly over to one side or the other. We lay this on top, and then we're going to move it over just a little bit because we want to see where the top of this piece that we just cut off is. It's layered over it, and here's the top. So we're going to take our piece we opened, and remember this is the 2.5 inches, and we're going to place this top about 1/4 inch above this piece right here. So between here and here, this little section here, right here, is about 1/4 inch, and you can just eyeball it. You don't have to measure it. So then we're going to leave that here and come down to the bottom part, and we're going to pick up the top piece and trim it right there and take this away. So we use this as a measure, and if we were to measure, this would be, this distance between the bottom and the top would be about 2.5 inches minus 1/4 of an inch. So it would be about 2 1/4 inches. But we use this to measure, and this is, if you cut your binding strips a different width, it'll work with that too. So it doesn't matter what the width is, as long as you use a piece that you cut off. I just filmed that whole previous segment with the recorder not turned on, so there'll be some things you'll see that have already been done. But anyway, we're going to attach, we're going to join these two pieces now, and to do that, I'm going to fold this quilt a little bit up so I can get to it better. And I'm going to take this top one, and don't twist it, but leave it like this with the right side up. Take the bottom one and don't twist it, and we're going to place it right on top, and we're lining up the top edge and the side edge. And you can see I've already marked it, but we're going to put pins in before we mark, actually. And then I take my ruler, and where this corner is here, we're going to mark it and match it with this corner down here where these two pieces come together, just like you joined the strips before. Now we're going to stitch across here. Now here I've stitched them together, and we can check. It's a little bit off on one side, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So we're going to trim off about 1/4 inch. And then here I just finger press just a little bit. Then we open this up again and fold it, and it matches. And then we'll just start up here and finish the stitching, and it should lay nice and flat. Before I stitch this down, I realized I forgot to tell you about trimming your quilt. This is a 3-inch square, and if I took 1/4 inch seam allowance, I use this ruler here, and we're looking at this blue square right now, and if I took 1/4 inch seam allowance, then I would have a 3-inch finished square right here. Let's move it up so you can see. But remember, I talked about doing a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which is what I prefer. On this quilt, I'm not going to worry about it being 1/8 of an inch off. So I just trimmed it evenly with the edge of the quilt. But if you had something like this, let's say this is your quilt. This is the Lone Star Workshop that you can get for free off my website. And if we look at these points here, if this were the edge of the quilt, and we measure, we have a perfect 1/4 inch, and it gives us a nice sharp point on there. If we took and did a 3/8 inch seam allowance, you would have your points cut off. So if we did there's a 1/4 inch right there. And if we did any more, we would cut off that point right there. So if you have a quilt where the points are on the edges, you'll want to trim at 3/8 of an inch. So you're going to leave about 1/8 of an inch of batting and backing on the quilt. And when you sew it 3/8 of an inch, you'll get right on that end where the point is, and you won't cut off your points. So you would, instead of trimming the quilt at right along the edge of the fabric, you would use your ruler and use your points as your measuring point and measure from that point 3/8 inch off, and then trim it that way. So basically you're just adding 1/8 of an inch as you trim.